Hello everyone, welcome back to What the Horror. I hope you're all doing really well. If you're new here and you like horror and you like movies, don't forget to click that subscribe button, as I am here for you with movie reviews, rankings, comparisons and deep dives. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the new Amazon Prime TV show, I Know What You Did Last Summer, released earlier this year in October. Now, as the series has finished, I will be including spoilers. I won't be going too in-depth into them, but I will be mentioning them. So if you haven't either seen the series yet, or if you haven't finished watching the series yet, then I would suggest coming back to this episode once you have done. So I Know What You Did Last Summer is very loosely based on the novel of the same name written by Lois Duncan and is a modern take of the original film I Know What You Did Last Summer, released in 1997. It follows a group of teens who are stalked by a mysterious killer 1 year later after they cover up a fatal car accident. There are a few differences and similarities between the film and the TV series. They kept the small fishing town setting, but they moved the location from Southport in North Carolina to Hawaii. So at its basic core, the TV series does follow the same structure as the original film. The series opens with a group of teens partying and drinking, which leads to them getting into a car accident. The person who they hit in the series, though, is different to in the film. In the film, they hit the fisherman Ben Willis, and in the TV series they hit Lennon, one of the twin sisters. So the accident plays out pretty much like it does in the film. The accident happens, the teens stand in the road arguing between themselves, trying to agree on the best course of action. You have the discussion of future's been ruined if they admit to what's happened, and the discussion of the difference in wealth, some characters being worried that they wouldn't have the security of financial help like others would have. So they decide to dispose of the body like they do in the film as well, and then we catch up with the teens 1 year later when one of them receives a threatening letter. Not a threatening letter, no. In the film they receive the threatening letter. In the TV series they get a threatening message on their mirror in their bedroom with lipstick, which essentially says someone knows what they did, and then after that the friends are picked off one by a mysterious killer. So a difference between the series and the film is that in the film the car accident is just that, it's an accident. But in the TV series it's very heavily implied, in fact it's actually shown, that Lennon wanted to be hit by the car. And that's something that I think I haven't really seen addressed with this series, is that there are actually things in it that could be very triggering, and there doesn't seem to be any trigger warnings for them. I won't get into them here, but I will list them down in the description box if you're interested. So the series gets a modern update with the use of mobile phones, security cameras, social media and GPS tracking. There are no more ominous paper notes being dropped through letterboxes. Past the initial message on Alison's bedroom mirror in lipstick. It is obviously a reflection of modern day and the world that we're living in now. I personally quite liked the notes. I think it just added a level of, uneasiness, because the killer would know who you were and where you lived in order to be able to drop these notes off. Within the series, there are quite a few nods to the original film, which I liked. A lot of them are blink and you'll miss them. Some of them are very obvious, like the car accident itself, still taking place on a dark, windy part of road. But there is a replica of Helen's crown. There is a mannequin that is wheeled through the festival that is under a plastic sheet, like in the Shivers store, where the fisherman hides under the plastic sheet. And you also have the message on the mirror with lipstick, which is the same as Helen getting a message on her mirror in lipstick in the first film. So I want to talk about some of the positives and negatives in the show. I have quite mixed feelings about it, so I wanted to cover some things that I liked, but also a lot of the flaws within the show. So starting with the positives, I loved the setting of the film. I mentioned in my review of the original film that I am biased for settings like this. I love any horror films that are set in, on, or around water, so I appreciated that they kept the seaside setting. I also liked the title card, just a very small detail, but it's simple and it's aesthetically pleasing. In the TV series, there is the addition of lots of subplots to the storyline, and as predictable as it was from the opening episode, I didn't hate the twin swap storyline. I think that it added a level of danger to Alison, and I think it helped keep her slightly alienated from the rest of the group as well. And I think it also added an interesting aspect to the story when it is revealed that our final girl is actually kind of an antagonist herself. By the end of the series, it's revealed that she was well aware that Lennon was in the road that night, and she intentionally sped up and hit her. And then obviously with the killer reveal, Alison sides with Margot, the actual killer. She lies to the police and says that it was Dylan who attacked her, and then enters into this unhealthy relationship with Margot. And I think, fan of it or not, this is definitely an interesting and refreshing take on the final girl angle. Another refreshing aspect about the show is that these teens, some of these teens, turn to their parents for help. They actually speak to their parents. Alison tells Bruce the truth about the car accident straight away as soon as she gets home, and she turns to him for help. And again, a year later, when the killer has been targeting them, she turns to Bruce for help and advice when she feels the situation has become more than she can handle. Even Margot references many conversations she's had with her mum about the situation. That obviously is revealed to be a little bit strange, because it turns out that the mum knew what Margot was doing and helped her with it. But before I knew about that, I did like the fact that some of these teens do interact with their parents. I also think the father-daughter relationship between Alison and Bruce was really good. I know that they gripe at each other and they annoy each other and they argue as well, but he genuinely cares for her and her safety, and she trusts him when she needs him. And I just think it has an element of realism to it. And although there are moments when Bruce is portrayed as a bad dad, I think that is in part to show that, parents make mistakes, but also that he was a red herring for a while. They were trying to mislead us into thinking that Bruce was potentially the killer. The I Know What You Did Last Summer series also steps into Scream territory about halfway through. It suddenly becomes very meta and self-aware. You have characters asking, isn't that horror movie 101 not going into the killer's house? And when the remaining group of teens decide to split up and explore an abandoned and dilapidated cult village, one character highlights the fact that what they are about to do is incredibly stupid. It's a really good character observation, followed by the characters still doing it anyway. Okay, and talking about stupid aspects of the show, let's talk about some of the negatives. For me, the car accident scene and the build up to it was all just too obvious. It was all signposted. From the moment you saw that they were identical twins, and especially when they were dressed the same, it became very clear that one of them was going to be in the accident and that they were probably going to do the identity swap. And like I said in my positives, I didn't hate that aspect, but there was just no element of shock or surprise when the car accident scene actually happened. The characters in the series as well, some of them are just awful. And the teens, the way they speak to each other, the names that they call each other, it's just so unpleasant. I mean, do teens actually speak to each other this way? Or is this just how TV producers think American teens speak to each other? I mean, Barry in the original film had his moments, but even he was redeemed by the end of the film, and he had some likable characteristics as well. A huge negative for me with the series is that there is no killer presence. In the film, you have the fisherman, and he's dressed in his slicker. We see him. He's a presence within the film, and he stalks the teens. He messes with them psychologically. He wears them down before he actually starts attacking. But in the show, there is one message on a mirror, and then attacks start happening. But we never see the killer. There is no image. There is no outfit. The only time we see the killer is when it's revealed at the end that it's actually Margot. And instead, what the series does is rely on the slow reveal of characters' secrets to keep the audience interested. I guess I just never felt that looming sense of danger for these teens in this situation. In the film, they're teens with healthy relationships and planned futures, and all of that is ruined because of the car accident. But in the TV series, these characters, the teens, they're already damaged. They already have secrets to hide. And it just doesn't feel like this accident makes their lives spiral out of control. It just feels like one more thing on top of everything else. The only character who seems genuinely affected by the car accident is Dylan. All the other characters seem completely unfazed by it, apart from a few throwaway comments about a few difficult weeks or months within the past year. And the worst offender, in my opinion, of the TV series is the reveal of the killer. I wasn't a fan of who they went with. I just didn't think it made any sense. So it's revealed that Margot is the killer, and her motive is to make Alison admit that she stole Lennon's identity. That's why she killed half of the town. Yeah. Okay. But while the person wasn't a good choice, I do think that they did a good job with dropping the clues through the episodes. Things like the killings stop when Margot goes away for 3 weeks. She is very comfortable threatening Bruce's life when he comes to visit Alison at Margot's house. And while she's under pain relief after being attacked, she basically admits to Alison that she knows who she really is. My final negative is that this just didn't really feel like a horror TV show. Aside from a couple of scenes, there wasn't really any violence or gore. And granted, they don't all have to be as gory as the Scream TV series, but there also wasn't really any horror elements to it, and that's kind of a key part of a horror TV series. So I Know What You Did Last Summer was almost good. The opening, where we were introduced to the characters and the way they speak to each other, was a little rough, and the ending, as far as the killer reveal goes, was very weak. But the middle had its moments, it had its strengths and good points, so I have to give the show credit for that. The very end scene was obviously left open for the possibility of a season 2, so I guess we will see what they do with that. I did read that the show received mixed reviews, so I'm not sure if they will bother with a second one, but I guess we will see. I will say that I did start to find more appreciation for the TV show as I began to rewatch the other films in the franchise. I love the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. It is one of my absolute favourite horror films, and while the TV show is not a great TV show or a great horror TV show, it is a good enough installment in the franchise, and I am appreciative of that because despite its flaws and weaknesses, it is still a stronger effort than some of the other films in the franchise. And if you're interested to know where the TV show would come in a ranking of the franchise, don't forget to keep an eye out for my ranking episode, which will come out later this week. And if you're interested to know more of my thoughts on the original film, I did do a review episode for that last week, and I will link it in the description box. But in the meantime, thank you as always for stopping by and listening to this horror fan's thoughts and opinions. I appreciate each and every one of you. Take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye guys.